Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host, and today we're going to be diving into how to improve our marketing. And we're going to have a different perspective with it. We know right now so much is done online, on social media. You can do it from your cell phone. But we're going to come from a different perspective with it a little bit with our guests, talking about how you can do it less time on your phone, and online. So I'm super excited to dive into this topic from this perspective, hopefully to give it a little bit of a fresh take in the marketing game. So we've got Ron Reich coming on the show today. Ron, did I say your last name right?
You did. Good job.
Perfect. Awesome. I appreciate that. So, Ron, he helps online entrepreneurs scale their businesses to 7, even 8 figures through his marketing systems. And so, Ron, excited to dive into this topic with you today. What got you kind of in the pathway of marketing being your specialty?
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick version of the story. Sure. Is I was in law school back in 2004, 2005. Wow. And I kind of had an intuition that becoming a lawyer was not really my destiny. And it was around that time where I used to go to the bookstore all the time.
Okay.
And I used to at the time I was actually, anyways, I always would find myself in the business section of the bookstore. And I ended up finding out about this guy named Dan Kennedy, who is, if you're familiar, so there you go, Dan Kennedy, a legendary, business guru and marketer. And it was really at that time, it's like when you read one of his books, you kind of like go down the rabbit hole and you got to buy all of his books. And long story short, that from finding out about Dan Kennedy, that's when I found out about this idea of information marketing. This was back in 2000, so 2004, 2005. This was really before internet marketing was really a thing. It was kind of just emerging, like online marketing, internet marketing wasn't a thing. Really, the idea was information marketing, the idea of selling information.
Yep.
And making money selling your expertise and knowledge. And so that was like really interesting to me. It's like, oh yeah, that's all. Like the whole thing was like, make $100,000 a year, sitting at home in your underwear. That was like this famous headline from this guy, Jeff Paul. Anyway, so that was really appealing to me. So anyways, that kind of got me started down the path of becoming a marketer. So really, that's really what I ended up doing. I ended up working as a couple of years as a lawyer, and then I would moonlight in the evening on my information marketing business. Mm-hmm. My first business was actually showing people how to do good in law school and how to pass the bar exam, because write about what you know about. Yep. And then I later on ended up partnering with a guy who was a dating expert. And I was like the behind the scenes person in that business, kind of pulling the strings while he was a front-facing expert. And then I ended up, I had another business like in the dog training market, really selling like lower end information products and things like that. And then I did that for about the first 8 years of my marketing career. And then in 2015, I got connected with this guy, Ryan Levesque, who some of your listeners may know. He's the best-selling author of the book Ask, the creator of the Ask Method. And I was his marketing director for a couple of years. And he really helps generally helps entrepreneurs grow their businesses using surveys and quizzes. And so that was what kind of got me into the realm of helping entrepreneurs and business owners grow their business. And that was back in 2015. And then I've more or less been doing that since then. So I've really been like spending a lot of time doing, the first half of my career was really hands-on as a marketer, actually doing the actual marketing, like writing the content, sales funnels and things like that. And the second half of my career, I'm still doing some of that. The second half of my career has really been as more of a strategist, kind of behind the scenes, helping people grow their businesses. Awesome. So that's how I got into it.
So with marketing nowadays, obviously, social media, online, like that's the main thing we hear about all the time. So is there still a place to be able to market without using those tools, or is it a necessity to have those?
Well, so this is an interesting question. So, so definitely, the whole thing when it comes to marketing is you want to be able to. The answer is yes, and so you want to be able to reach your, when you start out marketing, you want to think, okay, where are my people? This is marketing 101. Anyone who's taken a marketing course has heard something like this. You want to think about, where are my people?
Right.
And then you want to think about, okay, where can I reach them? How can I reach them? So obviously, if your people are on social media, then that would be a good thing to do. If your people are, or they might not be on social media. So, and oftentimes there's more than one way to reach another person. So the way what I would want to think about it is two things. So you want to meet people where they're at, and at the same time, there really is an opportunity to get people kind of off of social media, or if you don't have to even, it's in a lot of ways better. So here, we'll get thinking fast here. So for example, these days, like if you're in a niche where you can actually reach your people without social media, like by direct mail, for example, or by just like speaking at events, like real, like in-person events, like speaking at conferences, that's actually going to be it. You're going to get better prospects there because there's, for a lot of reasons. One of them is because of that personal connection. Another reason is because of there's just a lot less noise. Like if you're, if they're reading like a trade magazine, or if they're getting your mail, your piece that you're mailing, for example, versus competing with all the social media. So obviously, if you can do that, that's a good thing. At the same time, that might be difficult for a lot of people. And there's a lot of good things about reaching people on social media, or reaching them through Facebook advertising or any other kind of online advertising. But then the opportunity really for all of us, I would say, it's actually getting people off of the social media platforms and then onto your own platform. And your own platform could be your own email list, which of course is a basic that a lot of people use, but it could even be doing things like an offline newsletter, or it could be taking them to like a live event, for example. Those are some good opportunities. So this is where kind of the yes and thing goes, because these days, where there's more and more, because and this is true 5 years ago, it's even more true now, because people have been there's so much distraction. Like attention spans are actually getting small, and they're getting shorter now than they were even 5 years ago. Yeah. Thus, if you're able to kind of be in an environment where you're able to connect with them outside of that, that's a big opportunity, because people are craving that human connection. They're kind of jaded by social media. They're numb to it, and then they're numb to all the technology. So that would be the way I would look at doing that.
So with so many people on here, on social media or off social media, trying to market their things, people say, well, my market is just oversaturated, which, I don't believe is be true. I just think people aren't separating themselves or standing out enough. So how with marketing can we stand out?
Yes. So so there's many ways to do it. So, okay, so there's a few different layers to this. So one way, I would say the basic way that people can stand out is, one of them is really through your personality.
Yeah.
The idea there, especially, and most of the people I work with are experts, not all, but most of them are experts, people who sell information and things like that. They're, coaches, experts, consultants types. So there's going to be a lot of people that generally do the same thing as them. There's a lot of business coaches, or social media coaches, or relationship coaches, or whatnot. So the thing that's going to separate, the reason why someone's going to sign up for, me as a business coach versus somebody else as a business coach, it's going to be a lot less because of my expertise and my amazing information. It's more because they resonate with me more.
Gotcha.
Like it's because of that resonance. We all have had opportunities I'm seeing this guy talk, or this gal talk. She knows what she's talking about, but I'm just not, I don't know, something's off. I'm just not feeling it. So the way we can stand out is by, I don't want to use the word manufacturing, but the way I would think about it is, we would want to do things to make sure that our resonance, that our vibration, that the thing that makes us is more present in our marketing, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's basically doing things like talking about your vulnerabilities, things like that. It's also just talking about things like you have your Captain America shield behind you. That's an example. Hopefully you do talk about comic books and how you're into comic books and things like that, because that's going to make people, be more, more inclined to want
Sure.
to know more about you. So basically, it's like showing your personality. It's also showing like your values, what you stand for, what you stand against, because that's
Mm,
going to get that. That's what's going to get that really really solid connection. That's really how you can create true influence. So one way to stand out, literally, I guess the tip I would give. I used to. Were you ever into WWF, like professional wrestling?
no, not too much now.
Okay, so you're familiar. So
Yeah.
I used to be, I still like it. I used to be a bigger fan these days, or in the past than I have now. But one of this, when professional wrestlers go to wrestling school, they
Hmm.
say that they develop the way to develop your character is you take your existing personality and multiply it by 10.
Okay.
That's really what I would kind of recommend as kind of a north star on how
Yeah.
you might want to show up online. Like how can you just enhance the things that the things that make you you. So that is one way to stand out online. The other way, another big way to stand out, as far as kind of like some of our tricks and tips.
Yeah.
Another one is to, I'll give you two more. One of them is to take a look at what's going on in the world. Take a look
Mm,
at, there's this idea of trends that are going on in the world. And so typically kind of a framework that I teach my students is you want to think about what's like a positive trend, what's something positive going on in the world, and then also think of what's something that's negative that's going on in the world, and how could your offer how could it be kind of it be the intersection of those two types of things, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for example, one of my clients is this amazing woman by the name of Louisa Joe. She has a program called Employee to Entrepreneur.
Mm,
And so she basically teaches really corporate professionals
yeah.
how to quit their jobs and become consulting, like really become coaches and consultants and start like online coaching consulting
Nice.
businesses. And so what she does in her marketing, like the positive trend that she talks about, is really the rise of the coaching and consulting industry. And it is true. It actually is it is a growing industry. It's like, I don't know the actual number, but it's a billion, it's a
Right.
multi-billion dollar industry. That's kind of the positive trend. And people are still hiring experts more and more nowadays than they have been before. And then the negative trend is with this idea that your job is becoming obsolete. Like your job is being first your job was getting outsourced. Now your job is literally getting replaced by artificial intelligence. Therefore, if you take the positive, this opportunity with consulting, and the negative, your job is going out of style. Therefore, right now is the time to quit your job, your corporate job, and become an entrepreneur and grow a
Mm,
consulting business. So that would be an example. And
okay.
there's always a way you can tap into existing trends,
Yeah.
really independent of really independent of what's going on in the world. Oh, not what's going on in the world, but independent of what your actual, what your actual marketing, not what your actual product you're selling is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so if we're figuring those things out, like, and we're looking at all that, how can we keep the marketing simple but still powerful? Because I feel like, I've been there and trying to think on how to improve and things. It just kind of gets overwhelming, or like seems like there's so many shiny objects that you can
Yeah, yeah.
follow down. How can we just keep our marketing simple but still powerful?
Yeah. So marketing is, when it comes down to it, I mean, it's about having the right message to the right person with the
Right.
right media. That's, I think,
Yep.
I learned from Dan Ketty years ago. To kind of unpack that a little bit, there's really three things we want to be thinking about there's really three things we need to do when it comes to marketing.
Okay.
One of them is we need to generate leads. And
Yep.
what that means is leads traffic. That means we need to go to other people's platforms, go out into the world, and take people who are not on our platforms, go to other people's platforms, and bring them onto our platform.
Hmm.
So then you want to be thinking about, okay, the same question I asked before: where are my people? How can I reach my people? And this is the simple part of it. The truth of the matter is that there's not really that many different ways to generate traffic, to generate leads.
True.
One of them is to advertising is one way.
Hmm.
Another one is collaborations, and that's I'll use that as an umbrella term, collaborations, joint ventures.
Sure.
I would even include speaking at other people's stages. You could also include being featured in the media. We could just call it. We'll just put that into that bucket. Then the other one would be like social media.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
it's actually not the best way to generate traffic, but it is an option. You can generate, you have a podcast, you get new people from your podcast, or if you have a YouTube channel, or if you're doing things on Instagram or TikTok. Social media, that would be another way. Those are really the other one. The last one would be search engine search engine marketing. So you want me thinking about, where are my people? How can I reach them? Is it through advertising? Is it through social media? So what you're going to find is, and the way you find it, look at who's already doing well and how are they reaching their people, right?
Sure.
So then you want to be thinking about, so of the ways I could reach my people, which of these you want to kind of just do some thinking about, which of these are the best ways? Which is I think going to be most effective? Where are most of my people? And of course, which of these resonate the best with me, which is something that I believe that I can actually execute. If you like speaking or if you like podcasting and your people can be reached through speaking or podcasting, do those things. If you're interested in advertising and you can find people through advertising, then that might be good. So you want to find that kind of resonance. So that's the first part. This is not complicated, right? It's just about thinking about, so where do people screw up? The way people screw up, you mentioned shiny objects, is instead of trying to just focus on one traffic source, they try to do 50 different things at once, and that's or they might even start something and maybe it's working a little bit, or it's not working, and they just give up. Where you just need to stay consistent with that one thing. So the second part, first is we need to generate the initial traffic. We need to get eyeballs on us, essentially.
Right.
And the second part is we need to get people from other people's platforms. Once we get them onto our platform, we then need to nurture them. We need to do marketing. We need to be in front of them. And this is what we're talking about when it comes to what does our own platform look like. In your case, a podcast is kind of it's a traffic generator, and at the same time, it is actually a way to nurture. It is a way to nurture people, right? Because you have both those. Oftentimes our best way to nurture people, I would say for most people, email is still the most powerful sales mechanism for the most part, or no, it still is the most powerful. So then it's so we want to once we get those initial leads, we want to be essentially nurturing them, connecting with them through, we want to have a content plan, through our various media, through email. Maybe we have a podcast, maybe we're doing things on social media. And the point here is that this is really about consistency. Consistency is a superpower when it comes to all this nurturing type thing.
Right.
And one of the things I like to say is that there's this, I can't remember what book it was, but it was a book about parenting, where the author said that kids spell love Time. The idea is the more time you spend with your kids, that's how you show them love. That's how they love you more. It's the other thing that's also spelled Time is sale. Sale is also spelled Time. The more time people spend with you, really in this case more in a virtual environment, through email, through maybe reading your book, through being on your podcast, that itself is going to make them more inclined to purchase from you. And of course, you want to be strategic in the way your content, the way your content is, the way you put out your content. But generally, so we get, we're visible outside of our own platforms. We get people on our platforms. Then we need to be consistent in our own content mix, and then we need to be regularly and periodically inviting people to really some kind of a conversion event. That's basically inviting them to take the next step with us, to purchase with us. If you're selling lower end programs, if you're doing e-commerce, for example, then you might just be, you're sending them a link to buy your supplement or buy whatever you're selling. And if you're selling, more higher end things like coaching, you might be inviting them to a sales call or a live event or things along those lines. And so really, again, if you think about these, there's these three parts to it. There's the visibility part, there's the your let's say your authority content part, and then there's the conversion event part. So you want to be thinking about, like, if your marketing is not where you're, if it's not where you want it to be, is it because you're not getting enough eyeballs? Maybe we're
Hmm.
under optimized there, or maybe we actually, and most people think they have, like, most people think that's the big problem, but which we can all use more leads. I like to just, even Amazon, Amazon hates Facebook. They
Yeah.
want more traffic, right? Nobody
Yep.
has enough traffic.
Right.
Um, but then you want to be thinking about, okay, so, like, but of the people who who are in your world, are they taking that next step? So maybe not. If no, if not, then there's room for improvement there. We want to be optimizing that. And then, like, are people converting on your sales calls? Are
Right.
your sales pages converting? Again, it's not really that complicated. It's very simple and definitely not
Yep.
easy. But this is how we can simplify marketing.
Yeah, and I think that's big. Is just simplifying the process. I think because when people get over, when they make it harder than it should be, then they don't do anything, and it just extends their process and extends the time where it takes them to become successful or get results. And so, I think breaking it down like what you said, and figure out who you're helping and where they are, how you're going to get in front of them, where you're going to send them to nurture them, keep nurturing them,
Mm,
and then present what you have to offer, kind of just keeping it simple, and then you can add things in as you grow or as you expand.
absolutely, absolutely.
So I think we're just in a time where social media is just a part of it.
Yeah,
We
for
could do
sure.
less, but and that's the thing too, like talk to me about that automation with marketing, because we mentioned talking about how to do it with less time on social media, with less time
Mhm.
on your phone. So are there systems, places that can help automate our marketing processes, especially for a small business with maybe no one on our team, or maybe we have a handful of people on our team?
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing. The thing I would say, just to back up a little bit, is that,
Yeah.
like, I use social media. Like, I use mostly Facebook. I
Sure.
guess kind of only Facebook in my business. But the thing is that I'm not actually spending that much time on Facebook.
Right.
This is the big distinction that I
Yeah.
want to make. So, for example, like, and I'll still post, and some people don't, but I'll still actually post things on Facebook. Like, I'll take the time actually, because it doesn't take that long. It really takes 3 minutes to,
Yeah.
like, I'll write I don't write the post on Facebook. I'll write the post. I'll write the content, and that will take time. But I'm not doing that. I'm writing that in a Google Doc,
Sure.
and then for me to actually go and upload it, I guess how you say post it,
Yeah.
the whole process takes 5 minutes. And
Right.
then what I typically do, and this is, like, again, not complicated. What I'll do is I'll post it, and then I'll post, like, typically in the morning, and then I'm not going to check the post until, like, the afternoon. I'll basically,
Right.
my goal is to spend no more than 20 minutes a day on social media. Sometimes it could be
Right.
a lot less than that. So typically, what
Yeah.
I'll do is I will post something on social media, and then in the afternoon, I'll take a look at the post. I'll see if there's any comments, if there's any, like, if I got any messages, and then I'll spend time, responding to comments or whatnot. And I just have, like, a clear system for doing that. So the thing I'm
Hmm.
not doing, the thing that many people do, is, so I'm spending less than 20 minutes a day on Facebook. The thing that the majority of people do is they're just on social media all the time. They're literally wasting time. There's crazy
Right.
stats. There's crazy stats on that. So,
Yeah.
like I said, like some people, they'll post something, then they check every 5 minutes to see if somebody liked it. Some people don't even do that. Some people will just, like, go on. How it is. Like, go on. They'll check their post, and then they get involved in a little
Distracted.
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And there's crazy stats that I think last time I checked, it's like the average person spends about 2 hours a day on social media, like scrolling on social media. So if you just do the math, it's really bad. All right, like,
Yeah.
it's 2 hours a day. So let's just be generous and say that's 10 hours a week. So, like, what is
Right.
that? 40 hours a month, right? Like, what can you do for what else can you do with your time with an extra 40 hours a month
Y-
that you're wasting?
Right.
Um, so to answer, so big thing there is that, again, use, there's this idea. One of my favorite books is Cal Newport. He wrote this book, Digital Minimalism. So the
Mm.
idea of being a digital minimalist is that you're still getting the value of, you know like, technology, but with your kind of minimal output. I would say if that
Sure.
makes sense. So like, I'm not saying don't use social media. Like social media can be really, really benefit. I've gotten a lot of clients from social media. It's been very good for my business, but I'm not being a slave to social media, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then as far as automation goes, um, kind of depending on where, I mean, really the thing that comes to me, I think there's, when it comes to marketing, obviously, like, email, automating your email is a good thing to do. Like your things like your autoresponders and having a welcome sequence, those things are quite good. Things, for example, like how we're talking here. Like
Yeah.
I booked our interview with a calendar link, right? So that's an example of automation,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to you just sent me a link and then magical things happen and things are working. So yeah, one thing you want to be thinking about when it comes to automation is, yeah, there's definitely a lot of tools out there. Really, the way you want to be thinking about this is think about all the things you're doing like in a given week. Really, I really recommend everybody spend like a week or two just tracking your time and taking a look at what you're spending your time
Yeah.
on. And it's pretty enlightening exercise, right?
Yeah.
And then what you want to do is you just want to think about, okay, of these things, are these things I need to do? Are these things I can delete? Are these things that I can delegate? Are
Yep.
these things delegate? Or are these things that I can systematize or better systematize or automate, for example?
Yeah.
And then when you do this exercise, you are going to find that there are things that you might be able to automate. Like, for example, the things that people automate, right? They're like the calendar things, like scheduling emails,
Yep.
scheduling social media posts, and yeah, there's definitely benefit to having those tools for sure.
Cool. Yeah. Any tools you use specifically for automation? I
Um,
know Zapier's out there. That's one I hear about a lot, and we use
yeah,
some, but
yeah, you could. Yeah, Zapier is very cool. For example, yeah, Zapier is good. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty low tech compared to most
sure.
people. I
Yeah.
think I have like my email stuff. I use Calendly links. One of my things I learned is that you can actually uh, one way to automate is through human beings, I guess, versus technology. So I have a really awesome assistant
That's awesome. Yep.
who I can who she does a lot of these things for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think in any way, use the tools that are available and bring on those who can help you. Like you mentioned, delegation and stuff. I think that's a crucial piece to marketing. And um, you always hear with marketing, like in sales specifically, like if you're not sending 100 messages a day, then you're not gonna, get the results fast enough. Do you have a metric like that for some people who are very more logistical versus emotional on that? Like an idea, like aim for this many, lead
Yeah,
messages to go out per week or something that someone could be like, okay, I'm in the ballpark or I need to up what I'm doing.
yeah. That's a good question. I actually do think that for people who are selling services, people who are
Hmm.
like coaches, consultants, and even people who are, yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, good. Yeah, doing proactive outreach is
Hmm.
actually a thing that kind of all of us should do. This is one thing. So it's actually, so it's funny. It's like political season, right? I'm not going to get into
Right.
politics, but
Sure. Yeah.
one thing that's interesting is that the people who are running for offices, who are like the most high leverage positions in the world, what they are spending their time on, they're spending their times picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Like, they're asking people for money, right? They're asking
Yeah.
people for, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really change, right? And then when I think about people who are doing, a lot of people who are doing bigger, bigger business, like bigger coaching businesses,
Hmm.
oftentimes what they're doing, they're basically, instead of doing prospecting for directly for clients, they're doing prospecting for speaking engagements, or they're doing
Mm.
prospecting for partners, for example. So they're
Yeah.
still doing the same thing of like, actually the thing that's going to grow their business is going to be picking up the phone essentially, or
Yeah.
sending outbound messages. The point I'm getting at, it's something that we all think that, at one point I'm going to be above doing that. But I like to joke that there was a story about when John Mackey sold when they sold Whole Foods to Amazon,
Hmm.
which ended up being like, I don't know what the number. It was a multi-billion-dollar sale.
Yeah.
And I was reading one of the Amazon biographies. And yeah, in order to like for that sale to happen, John Mackey had to call up Jeff Bezos to make the sale
Right.
happen. You know, for,
Right.
to make $1 billion sale. It wasn't
Yeah.
happening through automation, right? So like, you know, it never ends. Is kind of the point I'm getting at. But yeah, so having said that, I think a good actual rule of thumb is to proactively reach out to at least 5 people per day, like 5 to 10 people per day is really, really good. For extra credit, there's a good book I read a couple years ago called Go for No. Have you heard of it? So the idea is that you want to actually practically get more no's, right?
Yep.
Because the whole idea there is that obviously in order to get a certain amount of no's, that 2 parts to it. If you get a certain amount of no's, that means you're making it a request. The other thing it prevents is that oftentimes people, they might have like a goal of the amount of sales they want to make.
Right.
Or what happens. And then like, let's say you kind of quote unquote get lucky and like maybe like you reach out to 3 people and you make a sale and then you're like, oh, well, I'm good. It's easy to keep your foot off the gas, right? That makes sense. So if you have a goal to go for a certain amount of rejections, no's, that's going to keep you engaged even when you've already had some success, right? So one thing that I like to do at times, my goal will be to get at least like 10 no's per week or like 20 no's per week. And then I know like in order for me to get, it's like for me to get 1 no, or I'm sorry, for me to get, what would be the number? For me to get, it's like for every 10 people that I make a request, I'll get like 3 to 4 no's. Does that make sense? So then it's like, okay, if I want to get 10 no's per week, that means I need to make, you know, whatever the number is, 30 proactive asks. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's a good way for people. And then, of course, as you grow, you can do more, but I think it's a good starting point. And just get out there and then you'll be able to, tweak your messaging. You'll be able to, get that down and then, just improve and continue to elevate what you're doing. So, Rob,
absolutely.
Man, this has been a really good conversation, man. A lot of great, insight, feedback, and direction that you're giving the audience listening as far as growing their businesses through better marketing. So I appreciate you taking time off today and being on the show. If you want to connect with you, find out more about what you do and possibly seek your help, where's the best place to send them?
They can just go to my website, ronreich.com, www.ronreich.com. So RONREICH.com. And then I have a free profit checklist you can get and some other cool stuff. So
awesome. Yeah, everyone make sure you check out what he's doing, get connected with him if you want to continue to learn from him and get his help. But again, Ron, thank you so much for being on the Elevate Media podcast today.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.